And so they opposed it. But it's not just the Zapatistas that are opposing it, but around the Zapatista movement, there is a huge support movement that developed in Mexico, as well as the main opposition party led by Cuauhtemoc Cardenas. And so there is going to be resistance in all of these countries, and I don't have the slightest doubt that the CIA is working overtime in Mexico, trying to help the Mexican government put down the Zapatista movement in Chiapas, and everywhere else the opposition is cropping up in Mexico. They're doing it because they have always supported the PRI, and they want stability before anything else in Mexico. And I have a feeling that they are now preparing perhaps for a transition of power to the PAN in Mexico, and they want to make it as stable and problemless as possible. Finally, the question arises, we know what the solutions of the right, of the extreme right, are to the problems that we face today, this structural unemployment. We know what the Gingrich Plan is, the contract with America to try to reduce the social safety net to the bare minimum, to, well, you know all the plans that he's putting forward. I don't have to even mention them, but even to the right of Gingrich, there are many others who have even more extreme solutions to the problems. And I mentioned some of these groups already. The question is, what is the left doing? Is the left leaving the scene for dominance by the right and the extreme right in the United States? Is the left slumbering through this out of shock from, for example, the elections of last November? I think not. The very fact that all of you are here tonight shows that there is certainly interest in a more humane, I think, solution to all these problems. And the fact that Fidel Castro was given such a marvelous welcome in New York City. I don't know about the Time magazine in the United States, but the Time that came to me over in Europe has Fidel on the cover again, featuring the fantastic reception that he got by so many people, from so many people in New York City when he was visiting the UN just recently. So there's no question that, that people are out there who are looking for progressive solutions to all of these problems. It is true, I think, that the CIA and none of these committees that are right now examining the role, the future role of the intelligence community, and here I've forgotten if I mentioned, but there is a joint White House-Senate committee looking into the future role. That was led by Les Aspin until he died. There is one in the House of Representatives, and on the outside of the government, there are such groups as the 20th Century Fund, who are also looking into these questions of the future of the United States intelligence community. Not once have I seen so far that they are interested very much in the extreme right that has grown so dramatically in recent years and has such extreme solutions of their own to the problems. But I think certainly there is and there are progressive solutions to all of these problems that we have got to find. But one thing is certainly clear. We cannot do it on our own as individuals. There is no strength in an individual in these situations. One has to belong to an organization. And this is just as true in political organizing and political pressuring and lobbying as it is in a trade union movement. An individual worker has no power at all before the management. But they do have power when they unite. And the same goes for all the rest of us who want to see progressive solutions to the problems that affect us every day. And so I would simply leave you with the exhortation to, if you're not involved yet and you want to see solutions, humane solutions to the problems, then one has to get involved with a group. There is a green movement, of course, around. There are student organizations. There are new parties which people are trying to form. And, of course, there is always the solidarity movement. And if I were back in the States, I think my first choice would be to work in solidarity with Cuba. In fact, I'm doing it all the time over in Europe. The importance of the Cuban Revolution's survival cannot be overemphasized, because they have shown that they can take care of their whole population in terms of health care, education, and even make significant strides toward decent housing for everyone, even though they are essentially an underdeveloped country, or a developing country, however you look at it. But they have an average income of something like, per capita income, of something like $2,500 a year. It's probably even less now. That figures from the CIA's yearbook of 1993-94. And happily, they have turned the corner in Cuba. I was there in June, and I just spoke with someone else today who had been there later than I had. And we were both in agreement that things are looking a lot better than they did just last year. But it's very important for all of us, because they have shown that with an inclusionist system, which does not marginalize huge proportions of the population, they can provide for everyone. And if they can do it, certainly we can do that in this country. The problem, of course, is that we have an exclusionist system, and it is a system which is marginalizing larger proportions of the population all the time. Millions and millions of people who are becoming redundant. They're not needed anymore. They are simply surplus. So I would simply leave you with that as an idea, that I don't know what you have in terms of solidarity with Cuba here, but remember that there is a national organization called Pastors for Peace. And this is a church-based organization based in Minneapolis. And they organize caravans, peace caravans for Cuba. And they've done some for Mexico also. They used to start in Canada and come down from all different areas. They could have maybe 10 or 15 or even more different caravans of trucks which go and they stay in churches and they collect all sorts of things for Cuba. School supplies, medicines, and so forth, food. And then they would cross the border in Texas, and the stuff would be shipped from Tampico. But now it's different. They are starting in the south of the United States, and they are moving toward Canada, where the stuff is shipped from I believe, from Montreal. Here in Orange County, you can have a relationship with Pastors for Peace, and you can be sure that in a future caravan, that caravan can come through this county and receive the support of people like you in terms of getting food and medicine and school supplies and so forth. That's one suggestion that I might make. Well, I've gone way over my time, I see here. I simply would thank you all very much for coming again and for your attention. And why don't we raise it to questions and some kind of discussion now? Thank you very much for that.
Questions. This is the microphone where you can come and ask questions. I heard a lecture a while back by Michael Perini. He had a little ingenious method of determining who goes first, who goes second, and whatever. He said, why don't we just have it, we'll start off with a woman, then we'll go a man, then we'll go a woman, then we'll go a man, or whatever. And that way everyone will have equal opportunity. So if we can do that, everyone's not scared to ask a question, please come up. The other thing is, a couple of announcements that I forgot to make is, this is our mailing list outside. We have plenty of shows that are coming up next semester. If you're not on this, please put your address on there. We will be having Howard Zinn coming in April. It will be his only Southern California appearance in 1996.
Don't miss him. He's terrific.
He's excellent. He's the author of People's History of the United States, and there are other people to come. And with that, go ahead and ask your questions.
By the way, I tried to keep away from personal matters tonight, but if anybody wants to know about my $4 million lawsuit against Barbara Bush, just ask me, or my $6 million lawsuit against the government for a murder plot in the early 1970s. I'll be glad to tell you all about it.
Hi, I'm from the Sierra Club in Orange County. I'm the Orange County Political Events and Cultural Events representative. And we are very much concerned what happens with rotten government. Rotten government equals rotten politics or vice versa, and then you get a rotten environment. They're all inextricably involved. You really can't separate any of them, and we're working for environmental justice and really working hard. You can join us for cents a day. We have student rates. This is not a commercial, but we really want people to get active in Orange County, and this is just one of the avenues that is offered to you. Now to a question. In Germany, I understand fascism never died and is definitely on the rise. How safe is it for my friends who are from the country of Eritrea, which is just north of Ethiopia? How safe is it for them to remain living in Germany?
They're taking their chances.